Welcome back, dear dreamers. When we last left our story, the princess had fallen into a deep, enchanted sleep, and the entire kingdom slumbered with her. Now let us return to that quiet world where time itself seemed to hold its breath. For many years, the castle stood still, wrapped in a blanket of silence. Vines climbed its walls like gentle green fingers, weaving patterns of leaves and blossoms. The gardens, once filled with laughter and music, now shimmered with a strange, peaceful magic. Even the birds perched on branches slept with their wings tucked close, as if dreaming of skies they could no longer fly. The people of the kingdom, frozen in their slumber, looked as though they might awaken at any moment. The cooks still held wooden spoons mid-stir. The musicians still touched their instruments, waiting for the next note. The guards stood tall, hands resting on their spears, eyes closed but proud. And at the very heart of the castle, in a quiet room filled with soft sunlight, the princess lay upon a bed of velvet and gold. Her face was calm, her breathing gentle, as though she were simply resting after a long day of exploring. The softness spell had wrapped her in a sleep that was peaceful, not frightening, a sleep that waited for hope. The fairies watched over her from afar. They could not break the spell themselves, but they whispered to the winds, to the trees, to the stars, guiding fate toward the moment when the promise would be fulfilled. Far beyond the enchanted forest, in a small village nestled between hills, lived a young traveler. He wasn't a prince or a knight. He didn't wear shining armor or carry a sword of legend. He was simply a kind-hearted wanderer who loved stories, adventure, and helping those in need. One evening, as he sat by a campfire, an old storyteller approached him. Her eyes sparkled like embers, and her voice carried the weight of forgotten tales. She told him of a kingdom lost to sleep, of a princess hidden behind walls of thorns, of a spell waiting for someone brave enough and gentle enough to face it. The traveler listened with wide eyes. Something in the story tugged at his heart, like a thread pulling him toward a destiny he didn't yet understand. The storyteller smiled knowingly. "Some journeys choose us," she said. And with that, she vanished into the night, leaving only the crackling fire behind. The next morning, the traveler packed his bag, tightened his boots, and set off toward the enchanted forest. The forest was unlike any he had ever seen. Sunlight filtered through the trees in shimmering beams, and the air hummed with quiet magic. Flowers glowed softly, as though lit from within. Streams whispered secrets as they flowed over smooth stones. But the deeper he walked, the more tangled the forest became. Thorny vines curled across the path, thick and strong. Strange shadows flickered between the trees. The traveler felt a shiver of uncertainty, but he remembered the storyteller's words, and he pressed on. At times, the vines seemed to move aside for him, as if recognizing the kindness in his heart. At other times, they blocked his way, testing his patience and courage. He climbed over fallen logs, squeezed through narrow gaps, and followed the faintest hints of magic that drifted through the air like tiny sparks. Hours passed, maybe days. Time felt different in the enchanted forest. Finally, he reached a clearing, and there it stood. The sleeping castle, wrapped in vines. Silent as moonlight, waiting. The traveler approached the castle gates, expecting them to be locked tight. But as he touched them, the vines loosened and slid aside, opening a path just wide enough for him to enter. Inside, the halls were quiet and still. Dust motes floated like tiny stars. Tapestries hung frozen in mid-flutter, as though caught in a breeze that no longer blew. He walked carefully, his footsteps soft. He passed the sleeping guards, the silent musicians, the cooks paused in their work. He felt a strange mix of sadness and wonder, as if he were walking through a dream someone had forgotten to finish. Then he felt it. A gentle pull, a warmth in the air, a whisper of magic guiding him forward. He followed it up a staircase, down a long corridor, and through a pair of golden doors. And there she was, the princess, sleeping peacefully, bathed in a soft glow of magic. The traveler stepped closer, his heart beating fast. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. But he felt the weight of the moment, the hope of an entire kingdom resting on a single breath. He reached out, not with grand gestures or heroic declarations, but with simple kindness. He gently touched her hand, warm and soft beneath his fingers. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the magic stirred. A ripple of light spread across the room, like dawn breaking after a long night. The vines outside began to loosen. The lantern flames flickered back to life. The musicians' fingers twitched. The guards blinked, and the princess opened her eyes. She looked at the traveler with surprise, then curiosity, then a warm, grateful smile. A smile that seemed to chase away the last shadows of the spell. The kingdom awakened with her. Laughter returned to the halls. Bells rang from the towers. Flowers burst into bloom. The people rejoiced, embracing one another as though waking from a long, strange dream. The king and queen, tears in their eyes, thanked the traveler for his courage and his gentle heart. But he simply shook his head and said he had only followed a story, one that had led him exactly where he needed to be, a new beginning. The princess and the traveler spent many days walking through the gardens, exploring the castle and sharing stories of their lives. They became dear friends, bound not by destiny, but by kindness, curiosity, and the magic of a journey completed together. The kingdom flourished once more. The fairies danced in the skies, and the vines that once trapped the castle now bloomed with flowers of every color. A reminder that even the deepest sleep can awaken into something beautiful. And so the tale of Sleeping Beauty came to a gentle, joyful close, not with grand fanfare, but with the quiet promise that hope, courage, and kindness can light even the darkest paths. And that, dear listeners, is the end of our story. A story of magic and mystery, of slumber and awakening, of a kingdom that learned to dream again. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until our next tale, may your nights be peaceful, your dreams be bright, and your heart always open to wonder.